Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicole Allen, and I'm litigation of counsel at Kilpatrick, Townsend, and Stockton. The title of The title of my talk is Backlog to Breakthrough, and I'm going to talk about some exciting things we've been doing, our firm is doing with the Georgia Innocence Project and how we've been using AI. So first, just as a little icebreaker, who is still kind of afraid about AI and what's going on? Has some fears? Just me? Okay. Okay. After we heard, I'm excited and I'm embracing at the same time because I started my legal career in summer in warehouses going through boxes of documents. So anything that got me in front of a computer with a lemonade in hand clicking away, I was excited about. So I'm hopefully, maybe we get the title turn with my topic because I'm going to talk about AI for good. And that's me. Okay, so in keeping with that, I let AI basically come up with the themes. So we're going to be spelling out backlog as I talk about this project. So if people are aware of Georgia Innocence Project, basically they've exonerated and freed 16 people who that were in prison for crimes they did not commit, and they were in prison for a total of hundreds of years if you add up all the years they were together. And so with that success, a lot of people come, like attorneys come, family members come, and want them to look at their cases or their relatives, who may be in jail, to see if they can offer some advice or represent them. And so they deal with hundreds and hundreds of requests a year. And so what goes into the request is a process. They do early case assessment, and what they do is analyze the trial transcript, witness lists, the evidence. They do people summaries, and the trial transcript is pretty difficult because they do a one-to-one summary. Like every line needs to be summarized. And so that process, because they rely so heavily on volunteers, could take up to a year to a year and a half for them to even get that trial transcript summary done, because most non-for-profits are very short-staffed and they just need help. So Kilpatrick's had a long relationship with Georgia Innocence Project, so they approached us about, hey, can we use some AI tools? Is there something we could do to kind of cut down the amount of time it takes to do this early case assessment? So we're very excited to partner with them. So I'll go to A, which is alliance. Okay, so would you like to form an alliance? I know a lot of people watch Survivor and it's always about alliance. So the three things that I think to form a successful AI adoption are people, programs, and platforms. So people is one thing. I worked on the project, and I had someone that I worked closely with a lot on a lot of cases. Her name is Kim Bird. I'm going to say her name because a couple of people may know her here. She basically was very helpful in me understanding a lot about AI just in general. She's been programming since she was 6 years old, so she had a lot of advice to impart, but the most important thing that she told me that informs how I prompt is she said, quit looking at it like a junior attorney. AI is like an 11-year-old genius. It thinks it knows everything. So then I kind of start to visualize my younger know-it-all brother, who always thought he knew everything. And so once I started doing that, I realized it's going to know it all. It's going to be eager to please. It's going to have its hand up. I know it's going to interrupt you. It's going to have all these ideas. But you got to learn to direct it. So programs and platforms are kind of the same because you're talking about, you have time and then you have the cost because AI is kind of pretty expensive. So luckily we have a pretty robust pro bono program at Kilpatrick. And, I'll shout out Relativity Justice for Change program because that was instrumental in helping us as well. So we also used for our platform, we also used our internal generative AI tool. Considerations. Okay, now we're going. Okay, so I think I'd be remiss. I understand. I'll bring up ethics for a second. You have to have client permission, and it was a little different because we had to get client permission, which would be Georgia Innocence Project, and then they had to get it for the underlying client. So it's a little bit different than your typical thing. Confidentiality and security, we do it all closed. We didn't let the type of documents dictate whether or not, if it was a public document, could we use a public platform? No, everything was closed that we did to do this evaluation. Validation, that's a little tough because it wasn't like, the typical case where we get a percentage or we get that. And so we had to figure out what the deliverable was going to look like. Was it going to be perfect? Was it something we could do? Fortunately with this, we were able, this is kind of unique in the fact that we are summarizing something that already happened. So you definitely have that kind of closed loop feedback. So it's not kind of, trying to figure out something. We can basically check it to the actual trial transcript itself. You don't have to go around trying to, it's not speculating or anything like that because you have that. And so also we had an agreement that, look, this is not perfect. This may be a first draft, but this is going to get you probably closer, move the time frame up from a year and a half to, to like maybe a couple months. That was kind of the idea that we had. And so they agreed that they would also have someone human kind of tracking it and going kind of along with it once we got it done, because we would do a QC kind of, we would look at maybe the first 100 pages and see that it was okay. And then at that point, it would be better for us to give it to a volunteer and go on to the next case. And so that created basically ongoing collaboration, because we had to have a test case to figure out really what they wanted and how we could prompt. So we had one where they gave us all the perfect examples of what they saw. They gave us a wish list of what they would like to see, and we kind of went and created that, kind of backed our way into it so it looked like what the same deliverable was like what the volunteers would take their time to do. But even so, there's been just ongoing collaboration we've had to do because every court case is not the same. So continue with that. So, sorry about these slides. Okay, so knowledge is like PB&J. I'm gonna bring up Kim again because she reminded me of a time where we had to do an assignment, and basically the assignment was give instructions on how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I know some of you may remember this, some people may not, but no one would get it right the first time because they would inevitably skip some steps. They would forget to get the plate out, or they wouldn't open up the jar, but you have to be very specific about the steps of making a peanut butter jelly sandwich. We think that prompting is kind of the same way. That's what we learned, that we had to prompt the same way and give it steps. Otherwise, it would begin to hallucinate. It would kind of fill in the gaps and kind of talk about a different crime than what the crime we were talking about. Or it would give, instead of just giving us straight the facts about the exhibits, it would just talk about how the exhibit was helpful and useful. Well, that's great, but that's not really what we needed. I mean, we used it, we created a new column, but we had to get the AI back on track to just basically stick to the facts. So leverage is basically leveraging everything you learn each time. So like I said, it's not going to be the same. Every court case is different. How they introduce evidence is different. How they do, how they prepare the witnesses or have the witnesses on the stand is different. And so you're coming up with new language and new prompts every single time. Another thing is handling unstructured data. There's a lot of data that looks like it's structured, but it actually isn't. And so you need to be able to have a plan or take proactive steps for handling how you're going to feed it in, how you're going to normalize it, how you're going to come up with just different ways. If you're going to basically feed the transcript in slowly, it could be like 100,000 page transcript, and you obviously can't feed it in the entire time. So there's definitely an opportunity here as we basically decrease the amount of time. Georgia Innocence Project has been very happy with our results, which I'll get to in a second. But they now say that if we are able to get their backlog down, that they will be able to look at other cases other than DNA cases. Right now, that's typically what they do. But if we're able to decrease their backlog, they'll be able to, they'll open it up to looking at other cases. The other thing is gratitude. Obviously, there's a ripple effect to everything that we're doing here. And while we don't know if people will be released from prison because of our work, we definitely know that we're going to give more people access to justice by speeding up the process. So now we're to the breakthrough. So you're probably wondering the results. So basically, what took a year to a year and a half to do now takes about a week. And so, and then I have one last thing is just, I'm talking about a lot of volunteering. If you have it in your heart to volunteer, whether it's for AI or anything else, please go volunteer at the nonprofits. They need your help. Thanks.